Okay, we are live. David, it says we can only talk for 8 hours, so I hope you're prepared for trimming it down a bit.
Yeah, not running long this time.
Yeah, welcome to the third ABP Weekly. We're getting better. We actually have a website dedicated to this weekly call. We really want to commit to these things, and just like the podcast, we're going to do, 3 months of the ABP Weekly and see if we can't get better and better and better at it, and then reevaluate, right? So with that in mind, we have abpweekly.com, and that's going to forward you to what would you call it, like a screen that should be playing right now, and a chat box at the bottom, so you can chat with us or chat with each other while we're having these conversations and reviewing the week and talking about the next week and things like that. So we think that's pretty cool. There's a link at the bottom to join the ABP community. That essentially is, we're still trying to get this set up, but once a week we'll send out a newsletter of next week's guests, this past week's guest, and maybe a tweet or two that people seem to respond to, and then what else, what's going on, what's new with the ABP.
Yeah. So again, we're just trying to bring the community a little bit more together than just the two of us, talking on the podcast or occasionally a guest. And we think that it would be very exciting if you, the listeners, could join us more and could participate more. So yeah.
The conversations are happening. Really the value of all this is to get more people involved in the conversation. Even if you only offer one insight a month, that is one insight that the group got. That's really what we're trying to get here.
Yeah, and we see it happening on like the Facebook group, on the comments, on the site, and in the emails that we receive. And we think it would just be, so much more beneficial for everybody. It's kind of even like an exponential effect. The more people join the community, like the more valuable the network is, but in an exponential way. So if we keep sharing and we keep getting more people into the community that are sharing, then we can generate a lot of value there.
Yeah, and I think, what are we on, episode 35 or something? Oh, no, this isn't an episode. But we've been in front of this audience for a while now, and I think you guys have a good feel for who we are or what we're like. And I think you guys know the thing that stokes us out the most is if we could be influencing and helping people be successful, and then kind of joining that next tier where we're all kind of growing businesses together. There's no feeling of, oh, I need to hide this idea or hide that idea. Really, it's like the mutual success. There's plenty of revenue out there for everyone, right?
Absolutely. So another, housekeeping item here is just want to announce the Facebook group again. A couple of people have joined already, and we start posting cool stuff there. So, absolutely join that. Chris, how do you actually find it if you're not a member yet?
Yeah, and that's one of the problems is I don't think we can have our unique URL until we have 30 members. I believe that's how it works.
Okay.
But really, it underscores a bigger idea, which is, look, we have a Facebook group that we wanted to set up, and unless you listen to like the most recent podcast and listen to what we say, there's no way to like communicate or interact. We don't have a blog going; it's all podcasts. So, we have show notes, but that's why I think it's cool for people who are enjoying the content and enjoying the conversation and want to be a part of it to join the community. That way we can keep you guys up to date with, the next kind of crazy idea we're doing. So far, it's not too crazy. It's a Facebook group, but yeah, so we basically announced it in like responding to a couple guys in the discuss system in the comment section. So if you guys, I don't know how many people are watching this yet. We'll probably have to talk about it a lot next week on the podcast, but I think the best way to do it is look in the show notes from the recent episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a way to link it.
We'll have it on the site, I guess, in the near future, where you can just have a link in the sidebar or something like that.
Yeah.
So definitely, if you can figure it out, join the group. It's very cool. It's just starting, but already I feel that there's something going on there.
Yeah.
So, and lastly, in terms of housekeeping, thanks for all the comments that we got recently on the podcast episodes on appbusinesspodcast.com. A couple of people really chimed in there and shared their thoughts, and like long paragraphs, and really thought through stuff. So it just amazes me how engaged you are with the topics that we cover there. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, and one of them, the big one that kind of kicked off the week, has been a big week for new listeners and downloads and comments, and it was kind of an episode that we weren't sure if it was going to be well received. David says, hey, I want to talk about this new technology. You think this is a good topic? You think people care? And the attitude was, I don't know, let's just do it and see what people think. And so we talked about Hoodie, and I basically played I don't know what's going on, tell me about it, David, and David just explained it. And he ended up meeting with the guys from Hoodie, and Hoodie was retweeting us, and so it definitely got on Hoodie's radar. And then a lot of people weighed in saying, hey man, this is cool, give us more of this kind of stuff. So that was a really fun way to start the week for an episode that we had no idea how it was going to be received.
That was great. Yeah, I didn't expect much from it, but it seems like it could be one of the most successful episodes so far. So that's really cool.
Yeah, and I think it just underscores another idea, which is the tools are really important. People pay big bucks just to know what successful app people are doing or what successful real estate agents are doing. So for us to be sharing what we're looking at and some of the tools we're using, I think is it makes sense that that's valuable. I'm interested in what you're doing, and we talk all the time. So okay, so the next two episodes were we had guests. In fact, we're kind of on a roll with guests. We decided it'd be fun to, especially with 3 episodes a week, let's get some diverse thoughts and opinions on the show, and it's not just David and I's perspective. And so Tim Ogilvy, I think, is kind of new to this whole podcasting thing, and it was a really good episode. We listened to it again to write down the show notes and do all that kind of stuff, and it really picked up steam. So if you're bored in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes, give it a chance, because it really really kind of picks up and ends on a high note. Well, for us, definitely a high note.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. He was like confirming what we thought about the market and about like what the right kind of model is right now for apps. And so yeah, I was pretty happy with that, especially because I'm currently working on an app with Chris in just that regard. So it was pretty cool.
So I would say if you're a developer and you're not really strong at publishing, but you're really good at you understand game mechanics and what the top apps are doing for monetization, stuff like that, Tim and Think Gaming is a great place to go and check your app against 6,000 of the top monetizing apps. He's been tracking this data for about a year now, and his whole business is connecting really high potential apps with investors, publishers, basically people who say, oh, we can take this to the next level. Here's $100,000, here's $1 million, whatever, for some percent. So it's like app Shark Tank almost. But yeah, that was a fun interview. So I wouldn't miss that one at all. And then Thursday's episode was with Sylvain Goucher. He's kind of a well-known dude, I think, around this indie dev thing. He's had Aptomin for several years. I was sharing on the podcast that it was a source that I looked at when I was first starting, and even as something I monitor now. I always like to hear what other people are doing. But I didn't realize how focused he was on making videos. Like, that's really his only business, and how much he's charging. And he wasn't able to share ROI not because he didn't want to, but it's hard to track. But the insights he had for why to use video were a lot different than I was expecting. So, yeah, if you don't have a strong opinion about video, I would definitely. This is like app trailers, right? 90-second little clips to advertise your app. I would definitely check out. I think that was one of our longer episodes, but Sylvain's a smart dude, and it was worth it for us to spend 30 minutes talking with him. In fact, we just kept going, asking him questions because he knows his stuff. Okay, so that was Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. We have some episodes coming out. In fact, I'll just real quick look at the calendar. And next week, Monday, we have MobileLoud. Yeah, so that was a really cool. That was another interview, but it's another for one, it's an example of you don't have to be building apps to be very successful in mobile. So that was a really cool interview. Wednesday is the SOP conversation that basically David and I are just going to go back and forth on what my SOPs are and you know, templates and how to use them, and etc. I wrote that guest post on Chocolate Labs, and I must have gotten 10 emails saying, "Hey, do you have examples of the SOP?" So we'll see if that if people are actually going to come to the website and download the SOP, right? But yeah, that was a kind of fun one. And then Thursday we have Steve P. Young. That'll be a good one too.
Yeah, that was great.
That was like an hour, I think. He's a guy who has a podcast, mobile app chat, and he just released a new app that got a lot of press, and he's just a smart hustler. So yeah, we had a lot of fun on that. We just were talking forever, and then we stopped recording and talked for another 20 minutes, and we kind of felt bad, like, oh, we should have kept recording.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I mean, another good week, I think. The 3-week is working for me. What about you, David?
Oh yeah, definitely. There's less, not just like the quantity, but also like just this being in the loop all the time. You know, thinking about this stuff all the time is really helping me get more out of the episodes, like get more out of the interviews especially.
Yeah, and for the listeners, remember, we started this thing thinking, okay, if we had 10 listeners, who cares? Because we're getting so much out of it, right? Now it's been awesome that people are talking with us and sharing ideas and sending us their business ideas and asking us to get involved and just like all sorts of cool stuff like that. But we get a lot out of this as well. I mean, a ton out of it.
Yeah, and still the primary motivation, to be honest, because it's just like how in the world would you get any of these smart people to talk to you for 30 minutes or 60 minutes asking all these weird questions with nothing in return? So it's a great opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things we talked about a couple episodes ago is someone needs to start a podcast interviewing app entrepreneurs, right? So that offer still stands. On the 10th episode, give us a shout, and so we can get you on here and see if we can't get you more listeners. But the podcasting thing, I always say this, David, for someone who didn't listen to podcasts and didn't know how to use Twitter and was never involved in a forum, to like be here in podcasting is pretty cool.
Absolutely.
I think everyone should be doing it, really. But news. You want to do the news? We need some cool news sound effects. I think Hangout allows that, but we're not that cool yet.
Yeah, we actually have that, but it's too stressful to do while talking, right?
Yeah, all right.
So iTunes Connect 3 for iOS just came out. I think actually it's kind of disappointing because there are not that many features for app developers, but as you know, iOS is still very important, and iTunes Connect is something we're all fighting with. It's worth mentioning, so check that out if you want to check your stats on the go or something like that. Yeah, apparently Flappy Bird is coming back. I think that's just a fun one. It's not really big news, but it has been reported that it's gonna be back. The original Flappy Bird developer has decided to bring it back with multiplayer and all that kind of stuff. So I think that's just weird and funny.
He's hey, that 50 grand a day was pretty good. I
missed that.
Yeah.
Blew through all that money already. So the big thing for me, like in the news, was that Google lost a lawsuit against Oracle. You know, you might think, hey, I don't care about Google and lawsuits in general, but this one is really big for the entire industry, like for the entire software industry, but also for mobile, and it will impact the Android operating system. So this is just a very, short summary or maybe teaser, because we will do an episode, we'll record it like next week, and so in about 7 to 9 days or so, we will release this one, and it will go in depth about what is exactly the background of this and how it got there, etc. But the basis is that some people are speculating that Google will move away from Android slowly but surely, eventually ditching it in favor of something like Chrome OS, and that would be a giant shake-up of the mobile industry, I guess. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it'd definitely be a big shakeup, but Yeah, I want to pick your brain on this. I'm looking forward to this
Yeah, that would be
episode.
a great episode. So, yeah, the thing is, Google lost this lawsuit, and if they will lose in Supreme Court, which it apparently will go to, then they have such a giant liability with something like Android that they could seriously consider, not using it at all anymore.
Right.
So, that will, of course, have big impact for us app publishers and developers, and so we'll cover it next week.
Yeah, there's a really interesting article, forums, appleinsider.com. Well, there's more to that link, so you can either find it there or in the show notes in a week. Sorry, that's kind of a teaser, but but I guess we could post it. I don't know. We got to figure out this Hangout thing, but yeah, that one looks like a really. I'm reading the comments down below, and they're like, "Oh, this isn't going to happen," and then other guys are like, "Oh, this is definitely going to happen." So, someone like me who doesn't, I really need that 30 minutes with you to talk it through and figure out what the implications, of going to Chrome are. But what are some of the other ones we're recording right now? We're going to do a hey, my app's not getting any downloads. What can I do? Kind of like a help session, because we get a lot of questions like that, and I want to make sure that we're not missing any obvious answers. Like, hey, is it a slot app? Because that's going to be tough. But and then we're also going to bring you the harder hitting stuff, like the a real big conversation on the Oracle and Google lawsuit. So I guess that's it for this week, David. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a fun week. The last 2 weeks have been fun. I think the 3-week format is awesome for me. I think feedback from the listeners, that at least the vocal ones, are that they like it. And then, of course, we're moving forward with things like the Facebook group, and we actually have an email list now where we can email you updates. So we're growing up. We're growing up a little bit. We got a new website. Yeah.
It's getting better, I hope.
Yeah.
And you listeners seem to reward it. So thanks for, if you did, sharing the podcast with your friends and colleagues and whatever, because it seems to be, it's growing, and it seems to be that you guys like it. So thank you very much. Wouldn't be something without you.
Yeah, it'd be a lot more boring, that's for sure. All right, guys, thanks. We will catch you on the next abpweekly.com live recording, and then we've got 3 new episodes coming out next week. Thanks, guys.